Ulster's worst trouble spot.
South Armagh, one of the most beautiful parts of Ulster and the most dangerous. The villages scattered along wide valleys are staunchly Catholic, Republican strongholds. The small communities harbour many who support the Provisional IRA and a few who are prepared to kill for them. It has always been difficult to enforce law and order in the remote borderlands. Smuggling of anything from livestock to whiskey has gone on for years. But it's terrorism that the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Anglian Regiment are here to control. If the 700-strong battalion needed a warning of the danger, they got it the day they arrived in South Armagh 2 months ago. A bomb devastated a freight train on the Dublin to Newry line. No one was killed, but some 3 weeks ago, one of the most experienced and respected soldiers in the battalion, Major Andrew French, was killed on patrol by a bomb. 2 policemen also died in the blast. The Anglians are based at Bestbrook Mill near Newry, but the front line is along the border at army forts like this one at Forkill. High steel walls surround mortar-proof barracks. The Union Jack flies proudly and defiantly against those who would fly the tricolour. In the distance, small observation posts are perched on the mountaintop. Men stay up there for days on end, guarding the fort below. From the forts at Forkill and Crossmaglen, the men move out to establish bases hidden away in the hillside. This is the Super Bowl, an observation post named after the huge valley it overlooks. We're just a few hundred yards from the border, so-called bandit country, where terrorists can strike and retreat to the Republic of Ireland in a matter of minutes. From observation sangars, the men can see the main road and rail routes. Super Bowl is a hodgepodge of huts and bunkers. The men stay up there for 3 weeks at a time. They're allowed a few home comforts, but strictly no alcohol. Patrols from the base are carefully planned.
We'll move first, okay. Cover the valley down, the dead ground down to the south. I want you, with your team, move up onto the high ground, just to the rear of the derelict. Remember not going anywhere near it. Go firm there, and we'll swing round you. Yeah. Okay? Gunner, be aware that the road down the south there, keep your eye on it. From there, we'll swing round, and we'll leapfrog past each other, down towards the south, keeping Dundalk in view.
Their platoon leader learned his skills as a professional hunter in Zimbabwe. The men cover the open hills where the IRA may have set makeshift mortars to attack bases. Every step could trigger a bomb. Every stone wall, every bush or crevice could conceal a trap. In seemingly peaceful countryside, the men must guard against complacency.
The soldiers are here for a reasonably short time, not long enough to get switched off, as we say, but the commanders do have a task, and that is to keep them alert and concentrating. There is, in the back of their mind, there is a dangerous place, and they don't normally switch off for very long.
The battalion, nicknamed the Poachers, have done tours in Belfast and Londonderry before. In all, 8 have been killed. Most of the men here are experienced, but some are raw recruits who must summon up special courage for their first time in Ulster. Do you get help from the older lads?
Yeah, all the lads sort of chip in because I'm sort of baby of the platoon. They're all very helpful. That helps me out a lot.
Now you've been here for 2 months, are you a bit happier?
I'm settled in. I'm happier, but like I say, it's still a job.
Do you ever think you wish you were back in Leicester?
Many a time, but it's the job that we have to do.
The old hands know how to keep up morale.
We train a lot before we come out here, and you tend to bring home the fact to some of the younger lads, you know, the dangers that are down here. Obviously, there is quite a lot of danger down this end of the country, but we've been trained well for the job.
Terrorist attacks throughout Ulster have dropped dramatically since the early 70s, but the IRA are getting better at killing. In 1970, it took 190 bombings and shootings to kill 1 person. Today, that figure has gone down to just 20. But life goes on. Most of the Catholic population accept the Army's presence, even if they don't like it. Cars are stopped and checked every day. The Army build up comprehensive information about the movements of people, some of whom they claim to know are involved in terrorism. The Army's role is on the one hand to coexist with the local community, and on the other to control its hostile element. A difficult situation, as Commanding Officer Lieutenant Colonel Peregrine Rawlins explains.
It's certainly very hostile, there's no point in denying that. But having said that, the majority of the people are not hostile. It's the terrorists down here are very professional. They're very experienced. They've been playing the game, if you like, for a long time, and they've become very good at it. The rural environment, to some extent, lends itself to terrorism, which means that the terrorist is able to keep a firm grip on the population, and these things together all make it very difficult for the police and the army to make headway down here.
So the soldiers of Leicestershire, Lincolnshire and Northamptonshire really are in the front line. Our cameras have followed them by day and by night. Tomorrow we report on a midnight patrol in Bandit country.
Nearby County Down, a soldier from the Ulster Defence Regiment was killed by a bomb under his car. For the Anglians, it's a reminder of the dangers they face. In the second of our special reports, we go on night patrol using special infrared cameras.
Soldiers are airlifted at dusk to an observation post in the mountains of South Armagh. The light is fading fast as the men prepare for a midnight patrol. Operations in Ulster's Bandit country carry on around the clock. Patrolling at night leaves the men even more vulnerable to an IRA trap. As the patrol leaves, we go with them. It's turned midnight and we're using a special night camera which produces clear black and white pictures even in the pitch dark. The terrorists based in this staunchly Republican area may move at any time to establish a makeshift mortar behind an old building or set bombs at the roadside. The IRA may attempt to move arms and explosives at night when they think the army are off guard. Tonight's highly dangerous task is to check out old farm buildings where a car and men were sighted earlier. The men move one at a time. The others provide cover. They move slowly, pausing often to look around. The leader approaches the house first. The team follow, one by one. They must not drop their guard for a second. Each depends on the total alertness of the others. No signs of trouble. The men will not enter the house or outbuildings at night. It is dangerous enough to search the perimeter for signs of terrorist activity. They are satisfied that on this occasion the IRA have not been at work and return carefully to base. Next day we move to Crossmaglen. The village of some 1,800 people is notorious in the conflict between the army and the IRA. Many in the community are linked with terrorism. The number of incidents bears that out. The fort here at Crossmaglen has been subjected to numerous mortar attacks and shootings. It's right in the village of Crossmaglen, considered by the men to be the hotspot in Bandit country. Patrols from the fort are high risk, as in the night patrol, men cover for each other as they move into the heart of the Republican stronghold. As we were there, a major security operation was going on. All vehicles coming in and out of Crossmaglen were checked, as other teams were involved in anti-terrorist manoeuvres in the surrounding countryside. High pressure for the men when they're outside the fort, with little opportunity to relax inside. These cramped living quarters are called the submarine. 18 bunk beds crammed into a narrow room with no window. Privacy is non-existent. Tempers are often frayed. Fights occasionally result. A problem the Sergeant Major says the men can handle.
There's a small problem there in the aspect of life is who sleeps on the top. The fight is obviously for the bottom bunk or the centre bunk, because the guys actually climb onto the top, stand on the other guy's quilts, and obviously the guys do get upset slightly, but other than that, They do know they're here for 4.5 months. They're not paying for the accommodation, so they're quite happy about it.
Tempers do flare occasionally.
Tempers do. Tempers flare wherever you are.
It's difficult. You can wake up with it just by getting out of bed. It's dead easy to wake someone up.
You've all got your own sort of personal stereos and things as well.
Yeah.
Can that cause problems?
Not so bad, they're okay. It's when you're a normal radio that causes problems. If somebody wants to listen to it late at night, then that causes problems.
But most of the time you are able to get on and live together.
Yeah.
Just how callous the terrorists can be is illustrated by a bomb attempt near Crossmaglen 2 weeks ago. A man's body was used as a trap. A local builder who'd done contract work for the army was kidnapped, murdered, and his body left by the roadside. A bomb was close by. The army avoided disaster, as the commanding officer explains.
The aim of the terrorist action there was to deter other people from working for the security forces. The man concerned was taken from his car and brutally shot and left lying by the border. It's not the first time this has happened. The tactic is known to the security forces. We reacted with care and thought, mounted an operation to go in and clear the area, and as I think you know, there was in fact a bomb close by, and this was successfully dealt with by the ammunition experts.
The Army's main role in Northern Ireland is to make it possible for the police to operate. The RUC are most at risk. 150 have been killed in the Troubles, 126 of them off duty. It's one thing for Ulstermen to take that risk, but tomorrow we report on a Brummie who left his Midland home to join the RUC. We go with him on patrol.
It's for a life of danger in the RUC.
The Army's official role in Northern Ireland is to make it possible for the police to enforce law and order. The RUC are most at risk. More than 200 have been killed since the Troubles began 16 years ago. The worst incident was last year in the Republican border town of Newry. 9 RUC officers were killed when an IRA mortar bomb hit the crowded canteen at their station. Other bombs fired from this makeshift mortar missed their target. The death toll could have been even worse. Even on routine patrols, there is always risk. The Anglians go out with the police and cover for them as they check vehicles and question the local people. Recruitment is high despite the risk. Pay is one motive. With plenty of overtime, an experienced constable can earn £1,000 a month gross. Hardly a fortune considering the danger. It was not the money that brought a man from the Midlands across the Irish Sea to join the Royal Ulster Constabulary. Andy Hutton left the security of his home in Dudley to serve with the police in Ulster.
At 17, I joined the Army, the Royal Army Ordnance Corps, and I spent 6 years with the Army, spending several of those years serving in Northern Ireland. While over here I met a lot of people, made a lot of new friends, and whenever it came to leaving the Army I decided to join the RUC. You have to deal with the problems of the terrorism, but as far as the public go, some of them would be concerned about being seen speaking to the police, but generally speaking, the vast majority of the people in South Armagh, particularly in the Forkhill area, are very friendly.
What about your own private life when you're out of uniform? Do you feel perfectly safe and secure? There have been a large number of RUC officers killed in Northern Ireland.
Well, I don't live close to the station, obviously, but and I have to take a certain amount of care around my car and my house. But apart from that, I feel as safe living in Northern Ireland as I would anywhere else.
Do you ever think back and wish that you were perhaps still in Dudley, in the safety of Dudley?
No, certainly not. I'm very happy in Northern Ireland. All my friends now, after having been here for 8 years, live in Northern Ireland, and I'm happy to be here.
Andy, now a sergeant, has no plans to ever leave Ulster. He simply loves the place. The soldiers of the 2nd Royal Anglian would be all too happy to leave. They still face 2 stressful months in South Armagh. Tomorrow we report on their morale, their fears, and how they relax off duty in battle.
Are bearing up pressure bandit casualties, their morale, and how they managed to relax off duty in Ulster's most dangerous area.
On a hilltop overlooking the border, the Army's latest observation post, hidden among the trees. Its location is being kept secret, at least until the bunkers, trenches and base defences are complete. The men have been dug into the hillside here for some 3 weeks. You won't find any of the comforts of home here. The men sleep underground. The walls of the bunkers are bare earth. This is what they call real soldiering, living in the open, improvising where possible. From here, the soldiers observe possible terrorist activity and send out patrols to the area. The men are uncomfortable, isolated, and there's another problem.
Boredom, really. Keeping the guys switched on. But they see something every now and again that sparks their interest up, and off they go.
The danger is that being out here in the countryside, there is a danger of complacency, perhaps.
Yeah, again, it's difficult maintaining interest, but there's enough going on for guys to be aware there's still a danger out there, and the border's only 500 metres away.
A team of Royal Anglians and RUC men were patrolling near Crossmaglen 3 weeks ago when an IRA bomb in a ditch went off. The company commander, Major Andrew French, was killed. So were 2 RUC men. Major French was one of the most senior soldiers ever killed by the IRA in Ulster. It was bound to have an effect on morale in the battalion.
The facts of the matter are that when you lose a soldier on operations, it comes as a great shock to everybody. And it was a great shock to all of us. It came early in our tour, which didn't make it any easier. But I think that we're over it. There's too much to do. Everybody has too much to do to brood about it. And everybody has got on with the job. And I hope that you would have felt in your time here and going around and talking to the soldiers that they are all fully occupied in the job that they've got to do, and are carrying it out in as professional a manner as they can, without those sort of personal and human instincts being allowed to interfere.
Such are the pressures of a 4-month tour in South Armagh. The rewards are few. A squaddy's pay is around £20 a day. The responsibilities and pressures are many. No one knows that better than the Padre.
Somebody can find himself under a lot of strain, and he can find that he needs somebody to talk to. And from that point of view, I'm a listening post for all kinds of problems. Some of them quite simple, some of them not quite so simple.
Back at the main base at Bestbrook, the men can sometimes relax. A few beers maybe in the naffy, but they can't overdo it.
Well, you don't actually come off duty, you see. You have a stand-down period, which you can undress, get into your tracksuit, have a shower, a couple of beers in the nappy, and that's it. You can't go any further than that, because if anything happens, you've got to go back out and carry on.
Commandos can brush up their technique, even in the bar. Soldiers can work out their tensions in the gym, or in the squash courts. This is a rematch of the England-Argentina World Cup game. England win 14-0. But at any time it could be back on operations near the border. The next incident is only a matter of time. The casualty figures in Ulster since 1969 read: Army 384, Ulster Defence Regiment 157, RUC 229, Civilian 1,732. The 2nd Royal Anglians pray those figures don't rise as they finish their tour in South Armagh. The men who patrol through the night are appropriately nicknamed the Poachers. Their battalion song, the Lincolnshire Poacher.
from Hawaii.